What's going on? What it do? How we doing? This is the Post Podium Podcast. I am your co-host, Aramis.
We are back with Keyshawn and Aramis. What's going on, my man?
I'm great, bro. I'm great.
I'm
man, this is going to be a good one here. We're going to get into it. So we're going to start the show off. Let's just make it clear. We love the Bills. We're going to keep saying this as many times as we need to say it to get the point across. We love the Bills. We want them to win.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to stand for the bull, man.
I'm not standing for anything.
We're not going to – we just not – we can't do it. It's just we don't operate that way.
Right.
So what I will say is we have a tendency to want to hold the team accountable for things that we see.
What a fault. What a fault, man. I'm telling you. I mean, what's wrong with holding the team accountable? They just do your job. Do what you're supposed to do. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. Right. At some point we do this podcast, I will be wrong more than right. But it's up to the team to do it.
You should want to win, and you should want to do whatever it takes to win, period.
Right.
I don't think there's anything above that in the game of football. But let's get to the agenda for today. I want to talk about something that was really, really big news last week.
Mm-hmm.
And
what could it be?
This is a big one, bro.
Ooh.
This is a big one.
Juice.
So Leslie Frazier.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Frazier is on the accelerated coaching list for the NFL.
I knew you were going to say that. Yep, he is, isn't he? What does that mean?
So he's in a program now that is designed for either young and upcoming or coaches who have been there, been around for a while and have put themselves in a position to be considered by, higher ups and front office guys, in the league, to be kind of pushed into these open head coaching positions because as we've seen, there's a tendency from these, GMs and owners to want to, bring guys in that, maybe have a bigger name or are more popular and things like that because they want the plausible deniability of, this is a guy that came in with a reputation. We know his track record, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
We thought he can come in here and change the team around instead of giving a new guy a chance.
Right.
And we've seen now, time and time again that, sometimes in recent history, most times that gamble is paid off pretty well. But I want to get to this. Because, and maybe you could talk a little bit more about this. You said something that infuriated me, bro.
Oh, man. Just the first time?
Definitely not. But you talked about how people were happy that he was gone.
Right. Yeah.
And I just can't understand that at all because
I don't get it.
I looked at Sean McDermott's history as a defensive coordinator and I'm looking at the Bills' history of defense, and I have not liked the defense that we've had since pretty much 2020 and on.
Right. Yeah.
Ever since we lost Lorenzo Alexander and his capabilities that made the defense as good as it was and as strong as it was,
mm-hmm.
Even having guys like Trey White and I just didn't like the defensive philosophy.
Right.
Now, you know what? I'm a hold what I found.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to go first. I want you to just talk about because we decided we were going to look into this. We were going to look into Frazier's defenses. We were going to look into Sean's defenses because really the question is whose defense was this really since 2017?
And honestly, after doing research, I cannot tell you. I really don't know anymore. I really don't know because it's not Frazier's defense. I can tell you that it wasn't Frazier's. But was it really McDermott's? I don't know. It's like they took some of the best and some of the worst of both and just smashed them together. Because you're looking at your cover 3, which is what McDermott's known to run. You're looking at your Tampa 2, which is what Frazier runs. And none of them really was an evident, clear-cut base. You look at McDermott, who was pretty stout in the front with Starlo Tulele, with Kawhi Short.
Mm-hmm.
You had your bases that I like, your 1 tech and your 3 tech, which is for me the essential piece. Now, when you look at McDermott's defense in Carolina, they were a little more aggressive, but they didn't really hit the mark like you thought. They had a couple years where they were, they got sacks. They got, Jimmy Johnson back in his philosophy was to dictate the game. McDermott tried to dictate the game, but it got burned a lot. Where Frazier, he never got beat deep, but the middle was open. You could dink and dunk on him. Now, what I thought when I looked at what they did versus what we acquired with Von Miller was essential to a Frazier-style defense because Frazier, his back seven is going to back off. They're all going to back off and play loose, but your front four has to get home. We didn't see that before Von Miller. We didn't have anybody you could count on to get home on his own. Now, if you look at the Minnesota defenses, they had what? Defensive tackles, right?
Right.
So where are our defensive tackles? We had Ed Oliver. Yep. We had, who was it before Daquan Jones?
Starlo Tulele.
We had Latulele, kind of. That's why I'm kind of at a pause because we really ever have.
We had Kyle Williams.
See Kyle Williams, but see from my narrative, where's your one tech next to Kyle Williams?
They haven't had one since what? They hoped Marcel Darius would be a one tech.
And you drafted a one tech at the number 3 overall?
Mm-hmm.
A one tech.
Right. But they wanted the one tech to get sacks too.
Yeah.
They wanted him to be a penetrator and 2-gap guy.
And who was that? It boggles the mind. So what did he go through? 3 regimes? Marcel Darius? He went through. Yeah. He was Chan Gailey, wasn't he?
No. Was he? No. Whaley drafted him, but I think that was Marone era.
Okay,
yeah.
So Marone,
then Rex,
and then McDermott. So 3 areas of failed one tech. He really wasn't that starting. He got pushed back for his size. It shouldn't have happened. Right. But in college, he was known as the penetrator.
Right.
Which I could have told you. I think I did tell you was not the case. So getting back to my point with the Bills. The formula for a truly successful defensive line when you want the front four to hit home was not there. You need that one tech to occupy 2 players so you can get a one-on-one on every other defensive lineman.
Right.
So I'm curious as to where the disconnect was between the 2 defenses they were trying to run. The extra caveat, I don't know who really ran the base nickel. That really wasn't a McDermott thing. It really wasn't a Frazier thing. I don't know where that came from.
I saw a stat yesterday that said that most teams nowadays, and this is from I want to give them the credit for it. I'm trying to think of where I saw it. It wasn't Pro Football Reference. It was. I'll get it at a later time. But it said that most teams now run nickel about 55 to 65% of the time.
And that sounds about right. I mean, it makes sense. But in your schemes, that really muddies my thought of whose defense is it?
I think it was Buffalo Rumblings.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, whose scheme was it? When you're bringing in new stuff that you didn't do in any previous stops, what are you doing? You know, I can kind of see Frazier had bigger, slower linebackers. His middle linebacker was usually bigger and slower. That's why the coverage of Tampa 2 was his thing.
Surprisingly, Frazier had a lot of the same.
Right, and so you're looking at McDermott's defense in Carolina. Mm-hmm. He used his safety in the box. Like he brought the safety up to almost be a linebacker.
Right.
Which makes a lot of sense as to why Taylor Rapp is here, because that's what Taylor Rapp does. If you watch this man, have you seen film of this guy?
No.
This guy is one of the most elite tacklers you'll ever see.
Really?
This guy is so fundamental. He had a 6% missed tackle rate for his career. 6%.
Wow.
So that tells you the tale right there. He does not miss. And he's fearless. He goes into that gap. But we don't have the linebackers, to me, that will do the same. So now, and that's kind of why when we made our last show, I said this is McDermott's defense. I can't be sure anymore, because if I'm watching McDermott, what he did in Carolina, I keep going because that's the one I really watched. That safety came up, but who else did he draft to do this, to fill a gap, to come up, to blitz, to play a quasi safety? Yeah. Terrell Bernard, and now Dorian Williams. It makes a lot of sense as to what they want to do. So I can kind of see the transition. So I will give him grace. I'm going to say that, and I got a lump in my throat. I will give him grace this time, because I don't know what they're planning on doing. I don't think it's going to be anything better statistically. I think it'll look different. Mm-hmm. McDermott is somebody that likes to disguise, and I hesitate to say that he's going to be more cerebral in terms of switching coverages and conversation, because we saw that with Rex, and that was too complicated. You got to have a certain kind of player to do it. Mm-hmm. Now, I know McDermott has his little scholars. He has everybody that he has, the guys that just know, eat, sleep, breathe, and excrete football, we'll say. But how much is it when you got athletes on an elite defense that we've seen the last couple of years? Mm-hmm. How much do you want to change?
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Rebut.
I am going to say, beyond the shadow of a doubt, based upon what I've seen, this has been both of their defenses.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
I do think ultimately, if that is the case, then the ultimate onus falls on Sean.
Yeah.
Because it's your team.
Absolutely.
It's your team.
Absolutely.
And the players that you selected, the positions that you put them in, and the things that you've prioritized in these players are what led to the performances that you've had, the situational awareness and performance that you've had out of this defense. Leslie Frazier is not a blitz guy. He is not a blitz guy. He does not do it.
No, not at all.
He comes from the Lovie Smith, the Tony Dungy, that school of cover two, right? And in his defenses, he actually played a modified cover two where your traditional cover two, your middle linebacker usually falls into that deep middle, right? Yeah. The linebackers that he had couldn't do that.
Right.
So he oftentimes, would have them, just play a little bit more shallow, and it would be kind of a like a hybrid cover 3, cover 2. You'd have one safety that might have been higher than the other at certain points.
He was adaptive. We'll say he was
right.
Adaptive.
Yeah, for sure. And then of course the things that Sean added in. Now this is what I'm hoping that we get more of. Sean McDermott's first shot at defensive coordinator was in 2009 with the Eagles.
Right. And
his school is more of my favorite type of defense, which is your zone blitz, your aggressive attacking style defense. Yep. And that's the Jim Johnson defense. And the year after Johnson retired, believe it or not, Sean McDermott had pretty good stats.
Yeah, he did.
Pretty good stats. If you look at what he did in the year 2009, now it ultimately resulted in him getting fired.
Right, which I don't really understand, but
no, because he had a bunch of young players that year, and this was a lot of them. This was their first time, getting acclimated to this system and all that kind of stuff. But on average,
do you think that's part of the reason why he likes 4-year players now?
I'll get to that.
Okay. No, honestly, because when you said, I didn't think about that, but when you said it, I was like, wait a minute.
Right. So you see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So on average, he gave up 18 first downs per game that year. That's average, right? I think the total first downs, let me see, 19 there.
You're looking at, who are you looking at?
I'm just looking at total for. Yeah, so 179 total passing first downs. And I might not have calculated this right. It might actually be more than 18 first downs per game. But if you combine that with their rushing, it's probably a little closer to 25, somewhere around there, 25 first downs per game. But anyway, 18 first downs per game, 216 pass yards per game. Now, we're talking about 2009. Right. This wasn't the throw it all over the yard era. This was we were still in the, great rushing back era. That had to be your star guy. You had to have a good offensive line and a great defense to win, right? And if you had a great quarterback, that was just bonus at that point. It was icing on the cake. But 216 passing yards per game is, it's average roughly.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
that's not. It's really not that bad, right? And then you take into account for the year total, they only gave up 1,675 rushing yards.
Right.
Like that's really not a lot. There's 4.1 yard per carry average.
Mm-hmm.
That's average for the league. Now, if I'm looking at all this and I'm saying to myself, he did all this without blitzing.
Yeah.
Because he really didn't blitz.
Yeah.
His calling card, and you can see it in the Bills now, is that double A gap blitz, that double A gap look, basically.
Yep.
And you'll have one guy break out in his zone or something like that. That is the Jim Johnson influence.
Exactly.
In him. That's the zone blitz influence.
Were
in
you
him.
doing the same research I was? Because last week when we talked, we were sure. We were like, yo, this is he screwed up. We're done. But now we're looking at it like, okay, all right, I see where this is going.
Well. So here's where I really want to get to. He got away from that in Carolina.
He did
almost completely.
He did,
and he went to what's known as the 4-3 under look, where you kind of have the linebackers skewed off to more so to one side, and you've got your defensive line maybe a little bit. So for the sake of describing this, you might have the three of your linebackers. Your weak side linebacker would be closer to the line of scrimmage on the far left-hand side, and your defensive end would be the guy on the line of scrimmage furthest to the right, and your strong side linebacker would be closer to the middle of the defensive line formation than the middle linebacker would be. Your middle linebacker typically in that 4-3 under is lined up between your right defensive end and your one tech. Right?
But the key to that was the fact that they usually started off in a base 4-3, and then they would shift.
That
was McDermott's thing. Like you said, everything he went away from what he did, and it looked different. They did a lot of direction, a lot of smoke and mirrors. So
and if you look at the last 4 years of that defense, 2 of those years they were second overall and 5th overall.
Yeah.
And then I think the lowest they had in that 4-year period was 17th. And that might have even been 17th. I think that might have been the year before the Super Bowl year. I'm pretty sure it was the year before the Super Bowl year. I'd have to go back and look. But he was 17th that year. That was the year they had 2 rookie corners.
Yeah.
And they still had a great defense, like performance-wise. Now, both Frazier and McDermott have always kind of been bend but don't break. But I will say, based on what I've seen, Frazier is more so bend but don't break because of the school that he came from. His philosophy, and this has been reported before, his philosophy is to not give up the first down.
Who was this?
Frazier.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Turnover on downs to Frazier are turnovers, which is why he typically doesn't design his cover to get turnovers. He designs his cover to stop teams from getting first downs.
Yeah, I think honestly it was a quote where to him, I think I saw this in an article I read when he was still in Minnesota. To him, a punt was a turnover.
Right.
So yeah, so you're exactly right. I mean, there's no fault in that. I guess you could be a little more aggressive, but. Mm-hmm. You don't have to if it's working.
Right.
It's not exciting to see. As we saw, our team was a winning team. We weren't that excited. It got the job done.
Right.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So then you take into consideration now the shift from Carolina to Buffalo, and both guys are here in Buffalo. You can see influences from both guys. However, the nickel formation and the refusal to defer from it in big-time running situations.
Right. I mean, when you look at Taron Johnson's rookie year, Taron Johnson was a headhunter. I don't think he realized how small he really was.
No, he didn't. He was a mad dog out there.
I forget who it was, but I remember distinctly he made a goal line stop on some running back. It was a big guy, too. Honestly, I think it was Adrian Peterson. And Adrian Peterson's, 6'3", 230 or something like that. So, I mean, to go head up with the guy and make the stop, that tells you what this guy is, Mighty Mouse. And if you guys want to start calling him Mighty Mouse, be my guest. But, when you, like you say, you defer, you kind of get lazy in your pursuit
right.
of being multiple. You don't want to be multiple just to be multiple,
Right.
but you want to have the ability to,
Right.
which they went away from, and they're even going further away from it. Well, I can't say there because it's only one of them now. I don't even know who the defensive coordinator's name is. Do you even know who it? It's.
Well, it's Sean.
Well, it is, but there's I forget. There's a guy that he picked up. I'll look it up.
That they just named as defensive coordinator. Really?
What is this Live 95 roster DC?
Oh, we got to look this up now.
Yeah, I'll look it up. But no, I mean it's just the fact that when you look at the team as they constructed, you can do a lot right now. You could, if you want to be really risky, you could put Milano at middle linebacker and put Taylor Rapp as at third safety and use him like you use your safeties in Carolina. I mean, you definitely will have a lot of value, but you need to have a defensive tackle that will clear that A gap.
Exactly.
You need a defensive tackle that will command two blocks, because if you look at Carolina's defense, the safety and Kuechly even, you knew he was their best defensive player, but he was still unblocked. Why? Not because they forgot about him, but because they couldn't get to him.
Because they had a 6'3", 325-pound star Lotulelei who was sitting there in the middle plugging
and they had
the
Quan
thing.
Short.
And
They were double one techs.
Yep.
This is the thing. You have double one tech, and you got Von Miller. Why didn't you go get another Von Miller? Not that he has to be Von Miller, but that same skill set. Not a power rusher, a speed rusher. Even a average speed rusher. Because when you have a guy like Von Miller go out, guess what? You have a backup. You'll lose something.
Wait, who's the backup you talking about?
No, I'm saying if you went and got somebody, if you would have got, because Rousseau's not his backup. Evanesa's not his backup. Basham, we don't have a backup.
There is no guy that can do what he does.
And if you look at, that's what I'm saying. If you look at the defense after Von Miller went down, there was no pass rush. There was no pressure. There was nothing. Everything that the defense is built on, which is what Frazier preached, is what you're saying McDermott preached in Philly. Mm-hmm. You have to have that pass rusher in order to mitigate what you're doing in the back seven.
Right.
You're not blitzing. Somebody's got to get home. Who is it?
Yeah. And
they didn't account for it. You gave Von Miller, a 32-year-old veteran who came off of an Achilles and ACL before. You gave him $20 million, and you don't have a succession plan. He's on the team for at least 4 years. At least. The last two are avoidables. He could play the last two if he wants to. But you have to have a succession. Nobody's going to – I shouldn't say nobody because they did. But nobody's going to go into a season thinking that all 11 defensive players are going to be healthy the whole season. You can't do that. It's irresponsible.
Right. Right. So I think the verdict is this is – I mean, you can tell me if you disagree with this. I think
Probably
it's
not, and I'm sad to say. It's
going to more closely resemble what we've seen in Carolina now with Frazier out. I remember what I saw in Minnesota being this extremely strong, stalwart, almost world-beating defense.
Right.
That people could just not, they just couldn't get around. But, and I think this is probably part of the problem to begin with.
Right.
When you have two guys who want to be bend but don't break, but they have two different ways that they want to go about doing it, I think that becomes a problem because you can see the influences that Frazier had on this team. You can see the soft coverages. You can see the playing it safe. You can see the lack of blitz schemes and stuff like that were implemented from the beginning, or not rather implemented from the beginning. And you can say, okay, if you're gonna play that way, you need bigger, stronger guys up front so that your better coverage guys on the back end don't have to play for that long. Right? So Frazier built that in Minnesota. And if you're looking at the way that Sean wanted to play, where he had faster guys who could penetrate, he had great linebacker play, he could do a bunch of zone blitz or disguises and stuff like that with his defense, as far as like what he did in Carolina and even in Philly, which was his training, his school. That's where he became, that's where he cut his teeth. And you look at that and you say, okay, the double A gap blitz, or some of the blitz stuff that he used to do when Alexander was here. Some of the stuff that you saw happen with Milano and Tremaine Edmonds in the past 2 years, since they've kind of had to go to that because of all the criticism of the defense being soft in their pass rush and things of that sort. I think the issue has, looking at it now, has kind of always been, there's just two minds in the building that are too strong about the way they want to accomplish what they want to accomplish. This essentially, they wanted the same thing,
right?
But they went about it two different ways. And so what you had Sean McDermott's players trying to fit into and buy into and play under Leslie Frazier's play calling,
right? Which,
I mean, I'm sorry, it just didn't fit the way that Sean was trying to build this team. And if I'm Sean, like, you had to have seen after maybe year 2, maybe year 3, year 3 at the latest, you had to know, Leslie ain't calling this thing the way I wanted it to be called.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that Frazier was the issue. Like, the head coach is the head coach for a reason. Right. You got to make the hard calls, and you have to understand the heartbeat of your team and what's going on with it. And if you see that your defensive coordinator is not doing what you want on the field,
right,
I'm sorry. Like,
even if it's working.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Even if the stats justify, listen, I know we can be better.
Right.
I'm going to do what it takes to get better.
Right.
Even if that means I got to call it. Like, just have the balls to do that.
Yeah.
I would respect that way more than what's happened now, because you got a lot of finger pointing going on. You got a lot of people saying that it was Frazier. Like,
a lot of rumors.
Exactly. And that's all that it is. So I just.
And just so you know, Al Holcomb is the name I was looking for.
Al Holcomb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Carolina.
Yeah.
Right. Interim defensive coordinator, assistant head coach over there. He's our senior defensive assistant. So that tells you he is, but he's not. He's going to be a DC, but not. He knows in theory the system that McDermott may want to run, while McDermott can still run the team. McDermott can call the plays while knowing how Holcomb is going to teach the practices that he wants and feels comfortable with in practice and training camp and everything like that. But I think to end this, I believe we're coming to the end on this topic. But to end this, I think my major grievance is, if you want to run a certain defense, why didn't you build the team in a way that you can come over to your side? You knew this was coming. You knew the writing was on the wall. You did not. You had a draft. You had a free agency. You did not bring in players that you like that mirrored what you had, the style in Carolina. This is not it. Terrell Bernard is not Luke Kuechly. Ed Oliver is not even Kawan Short. Okay, so what are you doing? Can you institute Greg Rousseau on a wide 9?
That might help him a little bit. That might be a bigger help.
Really
Lawson was pretty good in that scheme.
Mario Williams was great in a wide 9 situation.
Yeah, he was.
It'll work, but you have to be willing to do it. And to put Russo a little bit further out, give him a chance to read the block before it hits him. Let him get ready to make his counter move. Let him get ready to operate in space. He's got a basketball frame.
Right.
So try it. It might work. You have to generate your pass rush, because it's not working now. Your pass rush is non-existent. It leaves a lot to be desired.
Right. All right.
Oh, brother, you doing it.
Are you ready?
Not really, but.
I've been waiting to get to this part. Oh, my gosh, I'm so excited. Listen. For those of you that haven't heard yet, by the time this episode comes out, everybody should have heard. Hopkins, my man Nuke, is a free agent. My N-word.
What that mean, huh? What that mean?
Oh, my gosh. Listen. I was hoping that the trade rumors were good.
Uh-huh.
I was hoping that was going to be the thing to put this team over the top, because I looked at Jalen Ramsey coming to the Dolphins. I looked at Vic Fangio coming to the Dolphins. I looked at the fact that the Jets now have a shut-down corner, and they have a number 2 corner who could be a number 1 corner on most teams in the league.
And they're young. They're going to be there. They're young.
Exactly. And then They got their running back coming back who went down last year. So now they got their run game back. Their offensive line is better. Then what did they do? They actually went and traded to get Aaron Rodgers.
No way.
So now, not only do they have the weapons at wide receiver and running back, they have a better offensive line than we do, and they have probably the best defense in the league at this point. They have a quarterback who is a Hall of Fame level quarterback.
Yep.
And can play as such.
And they brought a lot of his weapons with them.
Right. So I'm looking at that. I'm saying to myself, now, I probably shouldn't be saying this as a supporter of the Bills. I never call myself a Bills fan. I think the Patriots are going to be a much better team this year on offense. I think Bill O'Brien is probably one of the most underrated moves that has been made across the league. You bring a guy like that who's been here before, who's worked with Belichick, who's had success with Tom Brady, and now has a similar skill set style quarterback to work with. You've got pretty decent receivers, I would say. I mean, younger guys, but you had a guy that started to come on later last year. I forget the name of the guy, but it was a younger receiver. I think he's a little bit of a faster guy, but you've got a guy that can scheme up offense now,
right?
And now your coaches that have been defensive guys can go into the room with Bill Belichick and scheme up all the ways that they're going to shut guys down with a defense that was probably top 3, top 4 last year.
Right.
So you put all that together, I just, in my mind, the Bills needed to do something to keep up with the growth of the teams around them. And I think Hopkins being their number 2 receiver here, no disrespect to Davis, I love Davis, but I really, really strongly believe that his position as the number 2 receiver on this team depended heavily on Daboll's schemes and the way that he was used in that offense.
I think it's what they were asking of him, that they asked him to do.
Correct.
He wasn't a full-time player, which is what you're saying, kind of.
Correct. In a sense, what his role is going to be if they're playing a single back formation, 2 tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
I think is going to be vastly different from what he was asked to do when you had a slot receiver on the field roughly 60 to 70% of the time. Right? So if I'm looking at that and I'm saying to myself, well, if I have to have 2 receivers on the field pretty much all the time with 2 tight ends and 1 running back, why wouldn't I want to have an upgrade over Davis and Hopkins, a guy who's been there, done that, but he's also got Diggs on the other side, who's going to take a lot of attention from coverages. And now I've got 2 guys that can go out and win man on man. They can win. They can win man coverage. They know how to beat the zone coverages. I don't need a slot receiver at that point because now I can say, all right, Kincaid, go eat up the zone. They want to play zone. They want to stop my outside receivers from eating. Now I got a guy on the inside that can eat you alive because he knows how to read the coverages. He knows how to read the zones. And if I really want it, I got Knox over here that's going to stiff arm the mess out of anybody to come near him. Like, to me, that's the best chance that I have of going and looking at everybody else in my division and saying, bring it on. Because at this point, I'm not saying that. Not that I don't think that Davis is capable of being a good receiver. I like the prospects of Shorter becoming a Eric Moulds style guy who's bigger body receiver that can win, but he's probably a year or 2 off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So why not go get Hopkins? See if you can get him for 2 to 3 years. Get him under contract. Get him here. Win. Just like win now. And this is so we talked a little bit about this before we started. I liken this approach to what the Warriors are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what the Warriors have said is we got guys that we know can get the job done. Let's do what we can to support them. We'll get some younger guys, put them around the periphery, but
right.
The young guys are not going to be the guys that we depend on right now.
Right.
We need to get guys that are playmakers now that know how to game in, game out, know how to make the plays that need to be made. Hopkins has shown himself to be that. Davis is becoming that. I think his role in Daboll's offense, he was able to be that, so to speak.
Okay, so I guess I'm the guy that's going to rain on a parade here.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
My thinking, as you know, I'm a financial guy. I'm all about the greenbacks.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, money wise, it's tough for me to swallow. I mean, you're looking at 30. He's going to be 31 before the season starts. You're talking to giving him a 3-year contract. Right now, I don't believe it, but I'm going to use it as a barometer here. Spotrac has him at $23 million a season. That's their valuation on him. We'll say 15.
Okay.
Now, what muddies that is Mr. OBJ, Mr. Injured over there. He just got $18 million for one season. Mm-hmm. Hopkins has played in subpar conditions. You know, will he give all these blogs and all these things where I want to be in Buffalo? Fine. The Buffalo name gets you in the building. Now you're looking at Lamar Jackson and you're looking at what's the name? Justin Herbert. You're looking at the competition with Patrick Mahomes as well. Who has the money? You're looking at, does he want to be a number one receiver? You're looking at a lot of things right now where you have to mitigate the factor of us being, well, you're a Bills supporter. I mean, I'm a fan if you guys will still let me be a fan. But I think for me, I just want to stop the bleeding. I'm looking at the cap, and this year and next year we have no money. We just don't. And what we originally thought was cutting Ed Oliver that's not gonna give us enough money to do this. You have to cut Mitch Morse.
We can still trade him.
But it wouldn't give us enough money though. Even if you took that $10 million off the books, it still wouldn't give us enough money to give to Hopkins. So that's the problem. You're looking at, you have to do maybe 2 or 3 other things in order to even make it make sense. You have to restructure Deion Dawkins. Okay. Do you want to have him? Would you like to have him for 3 more years, or would you like to have him not on the team but still be paying Deion Dawkins $17 million for 3 more years?
We have a general manager who has stated before.
I know
that the cap essentially is malleable.
And I don't listen to him because as much as I want to be Jim Overdorf, but at some point you kick the can down the road, and you're going to hit a wall. You're going to hit a wall at some point. And I want to get to that win now mentality, but I think this team has a longevity to win multiple. And I want to be aggressive, but I want to be a fixture.
Let me ask you this real quick. Is kicking the can down the road worth it if sometime in that period you win 1 Super Bowl?
1 Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. For me, no.
It's not.
For me, no.
So you wouldn't take what the Rams have done?
I don't want 1
Really?
Super Bowl and then bottom out. No, I don't want that. That's not what they sold to me when they came on board.
Well, I get that.
That's what I'm holding them to. I'm not that starved that I need 1. I want to be a contender after we win. I want to be the team that they don't say we're a one and done. I don't want to be an anomaly.
Okay, but essentially that's why we're here. Like that's why you and I are here, because what's happened is the team came in here and they said they want to be perennially in the playoff hunt. They want to be perennially in the hunt for championships. They want to bring champion. Well, when they first came here, it was we want to be playoff caliber.
Right.
Then it became we want to be Super Bowl. We want to be championship caliber. Okay, fine. But what we've seen, and again, this is really why we're here, because we catch all this stuff all the time. What we've seen is they've had to adapt that plan almost every year to try and keep up with the curve, because they noticed they were actually kind of behind it in terms of the player.
That's the problem.
Huh?
They're always behind it. That's the problem.
Right. So what I'm saying to you is, there's the only way for them to get ahead of the curve is by doing what you're saying, which is to bite the bullet, let these contracts play out and just start over, essentially. There is no retooling or anything like that. There has to be a complete rebuild, essentially.
Well, yeah. I mean, you think about it, and I will give him this grace. This is the grace I will give him. Nobody could factor in COVID happening. That screwed everything up with the cap, everything, because you lost money in was it 2020, 2021 you didn't get, you're $50 million behind where you thought you were going to be when you sold. But now you're bringing in older players. You're bringing in older players. All these older players are bringing in who cost money. They're not drafting well. They're being arrogant in the draft. See, at that point, when you bring in a Rousseau, you don't bring in a Basham. When you bring in Spencer Brown, you don't bring in what's the guy's name? Doyle, Tommy Doyle. That's the fault. Right. So now what we're talking about is we have to mitigate that by bringing in DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
I'm okay with DeAndre Hopkins as a player, but my thing with him is, when does it stop? When do you start building your team responsibly? When do you start building? Because you just paid your quarterback $50 million a season. When does it stop?
I think it stops when it doesn't work anymore, and I don't think the Bills have done enough to exhaust whether or not it works anymore. I think if you look at their, let's say they don't sign Hopkins, right, and they play out the year and they go out in the first round of the playoffs again, I think at that point they have to acknowledge this doesn't work.
And that's where I am with it. To me, it already stopped. See, to me, it already stopped. The luster is over. I don't care about the playoffs anymore. And that's all we do. All we do is we get to the playoffs. We get to the second level, and then we lose to a better team.
But wouldn't you want to save it if it could be saved?
That's what I'm trying to do. But see, the thing is, my saving isn't adding on. See, what they're doing, they're putting Band-Aids on it. I want to save it by saying, okay, let's go get Jerry Jeudy. Let's go get a player who's young enough, who may not be as good as Hopkins, but he's young enough that you can. Is he better than Gabe Davis?
I would rather stitch up the wound to make sure I'm not bleeding anymore, even though the bullet is still in there.
The bullet's in there.
The bullet's in there. I can still fight.
You got the infection.
The bullet's in there. I can still shoot.
Right.
I'd rather stitch it up now, put Hopkins on this team, stay dominant in my conference and in my division, and say to myself, okay, listen, when my arm don't work no more because that bullet in there and is limiting my movement and is completely dead and I can't use it, then I will cut it off. But as a guy who wants to win now, like, I think we both agree in terms of, well, we typically don't agree as far as how we want to build the team, but we do agree. I like building teams from younger players, younger cores.
I love it. That's where I am.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say, in the current state of the Bills, where they have consistently shown that A, they're behind the curve, B, they don't draft well enough to get ahead of the curve, and C, they're doing everything that they can to keep up with the curve, which means they're getting older players in here, guys that they have seen that other teams can trust, and bringing those guys in here so that they can trust them. And I think all of those things puts us in a position to say, well, they're trying to win now. And if they're trying to win now, then their best chances of winning now is to have a dominant pass game. And the only way to do that is to have two receivers.
Okay, so what are you confident paying him? What are you comfortable paying this guy? If you were the GM and he said yes to what you said, if you didn't have to, what would you pay him?
If I am the GM of the team, I am not loyal to Mitch Morse.
No.
I am not saying to myself that he is a better option than Rick Bates. I'm not. I'm sorry. I get that he's an intelligent guy. I get that he's beloved. I get all that. Mm-hmm. But if we're playing the numbers game, my center is not going to score me more points than my star receiver is.
Right.
So if I'm looking at positional influence, positional impact, mm-hmm. I have to then say, for the money, Mitch Morse is not worth more than Hopkins would be on my team.
Right. Okay.
See ya. So I'm getting rid of Mitch Morse.
All right, we'll cut him post 6-1. Okay.
We don't. Is he cuttable?
Yeah.
Okay. So we cut him. We cut him. And we get rid of Oliver. I don't care if we get a bag of rotten peanuts for the dude.
Okay. So
trade him away.
Okay. So we'll trade him. All right. Cool. All right. So that what we have now. Getting rid of Mitch Morse and trading Ed Oliver, post 6-1 Mitch Morse, mm-hmm. we have $5 million in cap space this year.
How is that possible when Oliver's eating up 10?
Because if you look at it, let's see.
And Mitch Morse is eating up close to 10.
And this is on over the cap. I'm using a calculator right now.
Okay.
So Mitch Morse, his cap numbers is he's going to count against the cap $5.3 million this year.
So there's dead cap associated.
Dead cap is 5.3.
So what if we traded him? We wouldn't take dead cap if we traded him.
If you got somebody okay, let's do that. Let's see. So you want to trade Mitch Morse? We'll trade him post 6-1.
I would just
$3
package
million.
it.
He's at $3 million against us. So if you do that, now you're at where are we? Hold on a second.
Yep.
So you want so if you trade Mitch Morse, I lost it. Hold on a second. It's gone. I'll get it back.
Okay, so those are the two things that I would do right off the bat. Now I'm sure if I looked at the cap, I could find some other players that would not serve me as well as having Hopkins on my team would. And here's the other thing too. I think part of the problem with some of the depth that they've built is some of these guys didn't need to be re-signed. Some of these guys could have just been let go, and we could have signed other guys in the league that would take less, that have a similar skill set. We don't need to have high-paid special teams players like Matakevich on our team.
Now,
we don't.
Now you're coming back to where I'm. Now you're in my mind. Now, without knowing it, you're where I am.
Well, it's not good for the show for us to agree.
No,
but no, I'm kidding. But
it's really.
But if I'm looking at myself as the GM,
$20 million.
$20
million if you
$20 million in cap space if we do that.
If you trade Morse and trade Ed Oliver, you're at $20 million.
Like that's a no-brainer. Like how is that not a no-brainer? You have a guy in Rick Bates that can come in and play center. Even if he can't do it, you got Ike Butker that can come in and play center. Like you got guys who can come in and play center. But it's not like you don't have enough.
You're $4 million under in the hole next year. You're $5 million in the hole next year.
Yeah, but at that point,
we didn't get DeAndre Hopkins yet. We didn't add him in yet.
I'm fine with that. Because
that's what I'm doing. The exercise. We can't afford him next year. Now, how do you pay him next year? Now you got to kick the can down. Now,
no. You know what you do? You clean up some of the other mistakes that you made. I'm being for real. Like
I know you are, but I'm laughing because this is what I'm saying.
Oh well, listen. Then we might just be having a semantics conversation right now because honestly, I don't see how you can think that Mitch Morse, Ed Oliver, Tyler Matakevich. Who else is on this team that like Dodson, re-signing Dodson?
I'm sorry, Nyheim Hines.
Nyheim Hines. Like you've got players like that really, if you take a look at it, they don't need to be on this team for the money they're making.
Deontay Hardy is a $5 million cap hit.
He's not the formation that we're looking at playing.
Point, and that's what. Can we can stop the show now because we're there. That's why when I say this about don't get me if we didn't have Steph Diggs, if we had money, if the COVID didn't happen, come on over. We'll figure it out. Now the caveat to that is has not Dable. See, I want Dable back so bad. Has Dorsey shown us enough that he can operate a system where he has two tight ends and two wide receivers who command the ball be under 10 yards.
They say that's the school he came from.
Well, my point is now you're talking about wrapping, what would that be, about $43 million, we'll say, in Steph Diggs and Hopkins, and they're both inside the first down markers mavens. They both operate from 0 to 9 yards. That's where they live, and that's where all the targets come.
Okay.
So now doing that, what do you do with Knox? How do you get Knox and Kincaid out of their way so they can work? Are they both going to run seams so that they can take the linebackers? If the linebackers are dumb enough to not realize what we're doing, I mean, maybe Kincaid will take the top off. I don't know.
No, I think when you're playing at 12, and if you look at the way that the Patriots ran it, it was more so the wide receivers creating space for the tight ends underneath.
Right, but see, my issue with that is now we have $43 million receivers who you got to use. The Patriots didn't have that, so that's what I'm saying now.
Well, you've got a quarterback that mitigates all that, though. Like, the difference between Brady in that system and Josh Allen in that system is that ball's getting to those receivers a lot faster. So if I'm asking Diggs and Hopkins to go and make plays majority of the time in that 10 to 15 yard range from the line of scrimmage. Yeah. That's not as difficult as an ask for maybe for Josh Allen as it would be for a guy like Tom Brady.
Right. So I think my question is, when you have essentially 4 guys that all operate between 0 and 9 yards, we'll say, we want to get Hopkins open, we want to get Diggs open, we know they can work there. But if you're running a 12 with a $14 million tight end and your number 1 draft pick, what do you do with them? I mean, the 12 is fine. I know in theory what they are, but my point is, how do we flourish? Can we depend on Dorsey to expand his play calling game, his philosophy, to make best use of what we have? I think that's a lot of where I have angst when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins as well. I don't think they're going to use him that well. I don't think it's going to be a fault of him.
I don't think they need to. See, that's the thing. I think his presence on the field is enough. I think the fact that coverages have to account for not just Diggs. They can't rest anymore on just, all right, we'll bracket Diggs. He's not going to hurt us, and Davis is just Davis. Like, right. We're not worried about him hurting us on any given play the way that Hopkins could on any given play, right? So if I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, it's been reported that the Bills are not going to be moving to more of a zone run scheme, right? So if the Bills, if they're moving to more of a zone run scheme, that's much better for a guy like Cook, first of all. So now you can run the ball more effectively. Your offensive line doesn't necessarily have to be the best run blocking team in order to run a zone blocking scheme.
But the funny part about what you said, which is true, I'm not going to dispute what you said because it's right. This goes back to my draft part.
Okay.
What did you take in the second round? You took a boulder. He's not a zone block. He's a mauler. What are you doing? What are you doing?
He can move his feet.
I can move my feet. Don't mean. Hey, what are you doing? I mean, the point is, okay. So you were a power run, which you had Mitch Morse. So that tells you that's a lie. No disrespect to Mitch Morse, but we know of all the things he can do, power rush, power blocking is not his thing.
Right.
He's not turning. He can pull like nobody else.
Right.
Bates can pull. We had guys that could do that, but now you go ahead and draft the biggest.
Maybe that's going to be part of their zone scheme.
It could be.
I mean, they could maybe mesh some of those schemes and techniques and stuff like that. But I want to bring this back to the Hopkins conversation because for me, having him on the field is enough to open things up for those guys in that 9 yard range that you talked about, where you gotta worry about teams cheating up because they know that you don't have a ton of speed on the field. But I think the ability to force coverages to play honest, because you have 2 number 1 receivers now that can win against man coverage, that know how to play in zone coverage, and now you've got a guy who's supposed to be a zone beater as a tight end in Kincaid, and you got another tight end who is physical enough to maybe make some plays in man coverage, and maybe he can get better at playing in against zone. But I think when you put those 4 guys on the field, and you also have a better run game with a better running back, in my opinion, in Cook, you're forcing defenses to play more honest. If you force defenses to play more honest, what is the major thing that's going to happen from that? If the defense has to play honest, what is the biggest thing that does for your offense?
I mean, to play honest, you win. That's the answer. You win,
right?
Because we have the better skill mano y mano.
Well, it allows the answer I'm looking for is it allows your quarterback to know exactly what's going to happen, because now he doesn't have to work to read your defense. He knows what he's got on his offense is going to force you to have to show your hand faster than you want to, and the more you do that with Josh Allen, the faster you lose.
Okay, but Okay. I mean, I like I said, I get it. I'm not going to say DeAndre Hopkins here would just make me turn in my blue, red, and white. But my point is,
I just showed you how it could work.
No, I know. I mean, I know. Like I said, I know it can work.
Okay.
I know it can work, but it's not my money. Yeah. Salary caps aren't real. Yeah. Whatever. But my point is viability. Okay. So why did you go Kincaid? Kincaid was supposed to be everything you just said. He's supposed to do what you said. Mm-hmm. Kincaid is supposed to make defensive is honest. He's supposed to free up.
Not by himself.
He's supposed to. That's what they said.
By himself?
He's supposed to.
Oh, I don't like that.
He's supposed to. That's what they said when they drafted him. It's there. It's there.
Listen, the whole reason we here is to read through BS like
I know. But that's why I do this when I post to. That's why I do that. Because my point is, when you look at Dalton Kincaid, when you look at Dawson Knox, when you look at the offense as a whole, that goes back to what we were talking about. What is the identity? What do you want to do with it? Do you want to go 12? Go 12. But see, my thing is, if you're going 12, okay, it might be a decoy, but I just have an issue with at that point, we have no speed on the field, which is neither here nor there. But now, are we going to have a congestion? Is there going to be a log jam in that 0 to 9 area? That's what I'm thinking about, because if you have Dalton Kincaid who can read, they say he can read zones like Cole Beasley could. So that means he's going to sit down somewhere, probably in the middle of the field. Now you have what? You have Knox maybe doing a short out. You got what? Stephon Diggs doing a slant.
No, if it was me, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. Your boy Knox is gonna lose a lot of weight this year, because I'm gonna have him running seams. I'm gonna have him running posts. I want him taking those safeties away from the coverage on the sidelines and underneath.
And that was my original point. My original point was, are you going to use the two tight ends to run those seams so that you can make the wide receivers work?
For sure.
And that's kind of where I am. But is that what Dorsey's going to do? I mean, my thing.
If he's smart, he would.
But has he proven that he is yet? I don't know.
I think he's proven that he can think aggressively, and he can draw up some plays that win because of Josh Allen's ability.
Okay.
I think last year was a microcosm of not having all of the needs schematically for the type of offense that he wanted to run. It was more so, okay, these are the players that we got. We can't afford to really get all the guys that you need right now, but we'll gradually start working that in over time. And them getting Kincaid in here was, I think it was just happenstance. I don't think Kincaid was the guy they originally wanted, but I think when your boy Campbell got drafted, it was just kind of like, all right, well, now what do we do?
I think Kincaid was really high on their board. I think they were excited.
No, I'm not saying he wasn't high. I'm just I don't think that was the guy that they were hoping to get. I mean, if you look at the hole that they had at middle linebacker, right. I do not think Dorian Williams competing with Tyrell Dodson and Balin Spector and Terrell Bernard was the plan. I think they planned on getting a guy like Campbell or maybe Sanders, which was my hope, getting a guy like that who had that kind of size to still have the same or similar impact that Tremaine Edmonds had here with his size and all that. Get that guy to come and play in this defense, and offensively, maybe you can go and draft your wide receiver in the third round at that point. But I think once they got their pass catcher, quote unquote, right, in the first round, it was kind of like, all right, that's the guy that we're going to worry about as the pass catcher that we kept talking about, as the playmaker that we kept talking about. That should satisfy the fans in terms of, whether or not we need to go get a guy like Hopkins. No, we got Kincaid. That's our pass catcher. That's the playmaker. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Now, if I'm looking at that, I don't think that it's a question of, is Dorsey going to do it? I think it's more so a question of, can he do it without Hopkins? Can can the plays that he draws up with the personnel that he has now beat the defenses just in our division alone without Hopkins?
He better. I mean, honestly.
I'm asking you.
Yes or no? The reason why I say that, and this is very important. even if you sign him, what's to say he makes it out of training? I don't want to jinx the guy, but what's to say? So is that going to be another one of McDermott's excuses?
What do you mean?
Is he going to
if Hopkins gets hurt?
He comes out, he pops his shoulder, and he misses substantial time. Is that an excuse as to why Dorsey's offense is tanking? I mean, and that kind of answers. That's kind of my rebuttal to what you just said in terms of can he do it without Hopkins? He better, and that's why I say he better be able to. Not that you want to plan for it, but if your whole existence, if your whole identity is based on Stephon Diggs, who hasn't missed a game yet, or based on Josh Allen, it's irresponsible.
Well, right, and I think essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do what I can as GM right now. If I sign Hopkins, I'm trying to do everything that I can to try and win now, despite all of the mistakes that have been made up to this point. And I think if we're looking at it from that perspective and we're saying, okay, we've seen now that with the offense we had last year, couldn't get it done in that system. We had to be way too aggressive to make that work. We need better playmakers. We need better guys. We need more players that fit what we want to do, right? Mm-hmm. Getting Hopkins is not just a scapegoat, if he gets hurt and it doesn't work. I think in essence, as a supporter of the team, I would probably still be more willing to, give a little bit of leeway, because at that point you're picking up Hopkins. Yeah, you're kicking the can down the road, but you're trying to win. You're doing the best that you can with what you got right this second to try and make it work right now. Now, in the grand scheme of things, in the macro, yes, does it hurt you down the road? Absolutely. But you're in a Super Bowl window. Like, I can't look at this team as currently constructed and say to myself, I just got to let this thing die. Like, if we're really talking about that, we're really talking about a 2 to 3 year process to rebuild this team over again into something that can compete for a championship. By that time, Allen is almost in year 10.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that.
No.
And I'm pretty sure that the guys in the Bills front office don't want to do that. So again, if I'm looking at these factors and how they play into the decision making right now, I think you have to try and do whatever it takes to get a guy like Hopkins into the locker room. You have to, and if that means making some hard choices of trading Mitch Morse, trading Oliver, cutting Matakevich, cutting Hines, do what you got to do.
What's your number for Hopkins? What's your number?
If you're telling me I have $20 million in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm with you. I don't mind giving him 15, 16 mil because I think I can fill in Hines, Matakevich. I don't think we need to, maybe we get another camp body in here for the defensive line, but I don't think we need to really get someone that's supposed to come in and be an impact player after Oliver leaves. And then at center, same thing. I think Rick Bates right. That's what I'm saying. So I think you just go get you get camp bodies for center and defensive tackle, and then you go get whoever you can fit into the cap for Matakevich's role and Hines' role. And I think you're fine at that point because you've got another stud wide receiver on the field, and all your positions are filled, and you're still under that $20 million cap this year. But
yeah, see, that's the issue here. You're looking at this year, but then, like I said, you got to pay the piper next year. Next year, you got to pay the piper.
But let me ask you this. So I guess this is why I asked you the question, because this is the philosophical question that comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
We only have this year right now, right? So in essence, what matter, and this may just be to me, but what matters most in the NFL right now is this year, right? We can't just throw this year away and say, we're not going to be, because our cap is going to be crap next year, that we can't try everything that we can to win this year, right?
No. Yeah, but see, the thing, what I'm getting at with that, if you're talking about this year, $20 mil, and DeAndre Hopkins wants a 1 year, $15 million deal, we'll say.
Okay.
Whatever.
Well, no, if it was 15 million, I'm thinking we can probably get him for 3 years.
But that's the thing. See, where I'm going is I don't want to get him for 3 years. I want to get him for right now, this year, for a 1-year rental. I want DeAndre Hopkins only for one, just so I can get over the hump and do what I got to do, get my Super Bowl.
What if he doesn't want to sign that?
That's my point. That's exactly where I'm going. See,
well, what are you going to do? You going to tell him bye?
Yeah. I'm not bringing him in the door. So
What?
I'm not bringing him in the door. So what I'm saying is,
for any reason.
Over a year? No, I'm not giving a 31-year-old wide receiver.
Well, 31 now is different than it was 10 years ago.
I know.
It's different than it was 5 years ago.
Did you see the haircuts they had 10 years ago?
Bruh.
but no, seriously. I mean, me personally, if you're interested in getting over the hump for this 1 year, like you just said, this is the year that matters. Bring him in for 1 year. Bean historically likes to keep $5 to $7 million in a kitty just in case something happens.
Okay.
So you got to absorb that. So we're gonna go top end $15 million. Okay. Mm-hmm. Hopkins has to say yes. 1, 2. He has to say I'll agree to come for 1 year, because next year I don't even know what kind of wizard. I didn't even look at next year what they got to do, because even if you get rid of Mitch Morris, there's more fat to be had, and your team is old at this point. Right now we're just above average in age. So next year, we're a year older, everybody else is getting younger, and you're looking at pushing more money down the line. Yeah, we got right now, God forbid nothing else like COVID happens, you got $72 million in 2025. Looks beautiful. But who's on the team? I didn't even look at it. I don't know. So my point is, if we're doing this year, if we want to win this year, if we're going over the cap, if we're going to go for it all this year, sure. If he says yes for 15 for 1, like Odell got 15 for 1. But if you're talking about a long-term deal, I'm interested in, me personally, I'm interested in when we talked earlier about the draft this year, I would have stockpiled draft picks for next year and moved up, because if you would have did this year's draft, all you need is that one piece, and that one piece is that wide receiver to go with Josh Allen, because Stephon Diggs is going to be, 30, 31 next year? Yeah. So, of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., he's out of the equation. He's probably going to go number 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. So he got another guy. I think his number 2 is like 6'3", runs a 4.35. So
the way they're talking about Justin Shorter this year, I think they have high hopes for him.
Justin Shorter, I mean, he's built like A.J. Brown, but I mean, the thing is, if he's going to be the number 2 next year, which I don't know, that's great. That's beautiful. But
they say coming out of high school, he projected like a number 1 in the league.
Well, he still got Diggs, though. That's what I'm saying. If he can be the 1B, beautiful. And I'm all for it. I was hoping Gabe Davis. I didn't see what everybody saw when it came to Gabe Davis before, Mr. Toe Tap. I didn't see him transitioning to that full-time number 2.
Right.
But everybody loved him. He was ready for it. It was not, the moment was too big. He pissed down his leg, I guess. Whatever. But the point is, if you're going for this year, next year, now you're going to be making harder cuts next year. If you sign Hopkins, because now you're $28 million in the hole with a Hopkins if he takes 15 for 3, so 45 guaranteed. I got you, tickled you there. See. So you're looking at next year. You can't
say stuff like that to me, man. Like, I picture that stuff. I don't know why.
Time out, coach. Time out. I gotta change my tights. So,
oh my God.
I mean, do you want to get into a world where you're looking at cutting guys that, like, I don't know, next year, 2024, you have Taron Johnson on the hook for $6 million. You got spitballing. You got Connor McGovern 5.8 next year. You got Nyheim Hines $4 million. You got. I mean, this is.
I don't mind cutting Hines. I'm keeping.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think you kind of have to keep McGovern next year.
What you saying? You paid him like a starter.
Right. And all right, well,
but yeah, I mean, just like, not to derail it, but this kind of goes into what I'm thinking when I say Hopkins. It's beautiful. It's beautiful on paper. It's beautiful when you look at it. Number 10, long dreads on the field, handing the ball out to his mom in Rich Stadium or Highmark Stadium. Sorry, It's beautiful, but when you look at and I'm in the minority because I've tried to find people that agree with me, and they generally don't.
Right.
But it's just not as easy as flipping buttons. And, he'll take 15. He'll take. Who knows what this man is thinking? I know, like I said, but guys play the game. Mm-hmm. He might want to go play with Lamar. I don't know. But when they say you want to go to Buffalo, yeah, because Buffalo will offer me 17. What you got, Baltimore? I'm looking at the Chargers. They don't have a receiver next year, so it's like, what do you? And Herbert, he's about to sign his quarterback deal.
Yeah,
they still got money.
Yeah,
so that's kind of where my mind is when people say, "Oh, you can get him for." It's not that simple because the number is going to keep jumping because you got teams that need them. You got teams that are established that can use them, because what Baltimore did, which was smart and they got lucky by getting Lamar back. They never had a receiver that they paid. They didn't pay anybody. They just got OBJ for 1 year. They can easily absorb this. They can say, we'll give you 4 years, 65 years backloaded, and say, here's your contract. We can't do that. We can, but we shouldn't.
I think looking at Baltimore is such a bad example in terms of. And here's the other thing too. I brought this up to kind of look at like Baltimore's tax rate for 2023 is 6%.
Why would you put?
Okay, and I'm pulling that up to show
right.
a couple of things. Now, New York State has 9 income tax rates, and the highest one is 10.9%. Right. Mm-hmm. So essentially, Buffalo would have to pay a player maybe a little bit more than they would have to pay in Baltimore. Right. Just in terms of, trying to accommodate for how much is going to get taken out in taxes, because that's something that, OBJ has talked about in contract, talk whenever he's been interviewed. But all that is to say that we probably would have to pay something similar to the 18 mil, maybe a little bit more, if it was a 1 year contract. And I think if it was longer than that, they might be able to structure it a little bit differently, which is why I said, okay, I'll take the 3 years if it means maybe that last year is voidable or something like that. And now you've got him on a 2 year contract at a lesser number, and you just kind of figure things out next year.
To contrast, I just pulled up. This is what we're rivaling against. Baltimore has $11 million in cap space right now, without restructuring, without doing anything. Next year they have $21 million, $22 million in cap space, which is complete contrast to what we have. You're looking at the Chiefs next year, $51 million in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was it? Who else was in the contention? The Eagles.
Yes.
Eagles. See, everybody has money but us. The Eagles have $27 million in cap space next year. Yes, I know you. It's not a real number. Jim Oberdorf, Brandon Bean.
No. I'm not huffing for that. I'm huffing because those are all teams that, first of all, they have offensive-minded head coaches, and what that means for them is they don't have to worry about switching offensive coordinators. They don't have to worry about offensive schemes having changed and how that affects how they've built the team. Right. Now, we've had a defensive guy that's come in here now and tried to build a defense with another great defensive mind on the team that, at the very top of the mountain they agree, but the way to get up to the top has been different for the both of them. We've established that now. We've done the research that is what it is, right? But we've not seen what that peak defense in Sean's mind was supposed to look like.
Right.
And if this is what it was supposed to look like, it's not good enough.
Right.
Right? So when you look at all these other teams that have all this cap space, the other thing that comes into play is when you have that longevity with a scheme, when you have that consistency with your assistant coaches and all that kind of stuff, and assistants go, they get signed and get hired and get raises and better positions, but there's more consistency with those offensive head coaches, and it allows you to bring in younger players and trust younger players because you've already had guys who've been in the system for 3, 4, 5 years and can work with the younger guys to get them acclimated much faster. Right. When you have a situation like we have now where We're 2 years removed from having one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. And now we have a bunch of older guys and some younger guys who, there's a gap. You got a bunch of younger guys that are coming in, and they have to figure out how they're going to mesh with these older guys who have been in this completely different. Like, everybody's learning a different system right now.
Yeah, your point's made. I mean, honestly, your point's made, and I think we're both in the same boat, kind of, in a thinking process with what you're saying. Your detriment. You're bringing a different argument as to why things are the way they are, and why we have to move a little differently than what some other teams have to move. But I hear you. I mean, it's sad. It really is. When you think about what could have been, when you think about this familiarity, which in itself, that tells you it's BS. It's BS.
Yeah.
Because we kept Dorsey because what? Everybody's familiar with him. What are you familiar with? We're changing the whole offense.
Right.
So that goes back to what I was saying a while ago. Why didn't you get an innovative mind? You could have got a proven guy. I don't know who's out there, honestly, but the thing is, you didn't do your due diligence. When you you say, yeah, we no, you didn't. Dable left, and Dorsey was our OC, a week later?
It was like 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks later. So who did you interview? I didn't hear anything. You always hear who they brought in. If it's a top name, we brought no top names in. You satisfied the Rooney Rule.
Aside from Joe Brady, I mean,
who's on the team as a quarterback coach?
Right.
So the thing is, you if you want familiarity, you could have kept Dorsey down as quarterback coach for familiarity purposes. Brought in Joe Brady. I don't even care what he runs because it's different, just like what Dorsey's running now from what Dable ran. There is no familiarity. They just know the guy.
Right.
But the thing is, when you do this kind of thing, you still should be able to draft for this guy. And that means who you took in 2020 for Dorsey should still have some kind of the same role with Dorsey.
Right.
But it's not the case because they change everything every year or two. Every year or two, they change things. They went from Rick Dennison to Dable to now Dorsey. Yeah. Nothing is familiar. Okay, Dennison, I'll give you that because that was Reynolds. They didn't work together.
Right.
But these two guys that we're bridging from, how can you be so similar but so different? And that's my point. They're so similar but so different that now we have to have this conversation about bringing in DeAndre Hopkins to fix the mess that you created when you could have been responsible and had a pipeline. You built no pipeline for this team. You said it's Diggs or bust, it's Diggs and Knox or bust. And you give us Deontay Hardy, you give us Trent Sherfield, you give us a lot of guys, Jake Kumaro. I mean, I'm not going to say Gabe Davis because he had promise. He had a role before they thrusted him. Everybody's not ready for the big time.
Right.
And he was good at what he was doing. Gabe Davis could have been a premier, 2B.
Yeah.
He could have been premier. We've had guys in Buffalo that made money on other teams by being Chris Hogan.
100%.
Chris Hogan made how much money went to New England?
Yeah.
And he was a lacrosse player from Monmouth. So my point is, when you build your team, regardless of the scheme, if you're going to be, because when you hire, get on the whiteboard, show me what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because I know what I have, and I know what worked last year, what didn't work. Show me what you're going to do on the whiteboard to be consistent and to fix this deficiency. We couldn't run last year. How do you fix that with the guys that we have?
Right.
You're interviewing for me. You know my team.
Yep.
You know what we do. So when you come into this offense, I don't care if you have never worked with Dable, Dorsey. I don't care. You know what we do. We're on ABC CBS every freaking Sunday. You need to come in here and tell me what you're going to do to make my guys that I built flourish. But if I didn't build a team, which they did not, they didn't. Defensively, why shouldn't they be elite? You draft every freaking year, and you still overpay the defense. The defense is over 50% of your contract allocation.
Yep.
And you're a defensive-minded coach. What are you handicapping? What are you doing? But the Bills fans, the Bills Mafia, see, I speak to Bills Nation because Bills Nation, they think and they question.
Yeah.
Bills Mafia, no. Because it's said, it's done. That's what it is.
Right.
So when I'm thinking about the people I'm talking to the nation because what they're doing is they're asking, why are we drafting Russo's and then Basham's? Why are we drafting these Bernards and then Williams? What are we doing? We recognize the deficiency. We recognize how to try to fix it because you could have drafted Jack Campbell. And Jack Campbell, he might have came in flamed out. but at least you recognize and you tried to fix a deficiency. They did not.
So let me ask you this. So if we're going down this road where Keyshawn is running the team and we're saying we're going to take our medicine and we're going to let the dead leaves fall, that puts us at roughly 2026 before we can really start getting some. Well, I mean, we'd have to draft really well for the next 3 years, but 2026 would be all right. We got Josh Allen, we got a young core now. Now we can really start, bringing in some hired guns if we need to. But if we've drafted well enough at that point, we have, a great young team that is ready to win now. I think in 2026, Allen is set to be 28, 29 years old. Yeah. So technically his prime, or on the wrong side of his prime.
Right.
Especially with the way he plays.
Right.
Is that your ideal scenario right now, or well, I guess
for me it's I know where you're going, but for me it's tough and it's hard to speak in a vacuum because to me, the way I look at it is it's either Von Miller or it's DeAndre Hopkins. If I was a GM, Von Miller would have never happened.
I agree with that,
and that would have freed up the money to go ahead and get your DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
See, that's where we disagree, but we agree. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'm saying you can't because of what you've done.
Right.
So you're bringing in Hardy's, you're bringing in Sherfield. I mean, Sherfield, he's 1.7, so forget that. But Hardy, $5.3 million for what? For what? You're running a 12.
Yeah.
When does he see in the field? He can play outside and inside. I don't want a 5'6" wide receiver running on NZ. I don't want him in the X. That's not where I'm putting a 5'6". I don't care how fast he is.
Right.
So my point is, you gave him $5 million. Are you telling me that you couldn't have did better? You couldn't have did better.
How much you want to bet this guy ends up being our kick returner for $5 million?
Because they did it with Hines already. You traded away, and didn't even use the guy.
Or he'll be our punt returner, and Hines will be the
specialist.
Kick returner. Yeah,
a $5 million specialist.
Yeah,
and that's disheartening, because the reason why we're having this conversation, the reason why this podcast exists, is because in my mind I'm undoing the stuff that they've already done.
Yeah.
Because if I'm building for 1 year, sure, you can have Hopkins. Wouldn't be a 1 year deal. It wouldn't be a 1 year Super Bowl, because that'd be a pipeline to get somebody in that can learn from the guy. Somebody in that can learn from Diggs. These guys are 30 years old now. Right. It's time for them to start to learn to teach. Like Von Miller said, when I was younger, I didn't want to teach, but now I'm older. I'm going to show them what I know. And if you're going to bring in these old mentors that they keep talking about, who are they mentoring?
Right.
They're not. Anquan Bolden he exposed it. They brought him in as a mentor for Sammy Watkins and Robert Woods, and then they got rid of Watkins, and Anquan's like, yo, you brought me on for $2.75 million. I'm your number one. No, I'm out. I retire. That's exactly what happened. Right. He said, I didn't think I was going to suit up. He said, you were supposed to pay me $2.75 to practice.
Right.
I never played for this kind of wage. This is crap. This is BS. I'm not doing that. So I'm out of here. Yeah. And it's furthermore evident by him saying, I want to go work on my foundation. But then didn't he say he wanted to be released to go play somewhere else that same year? Mm-hmm. So that tells you he did not leave because he lost the level of football. The money sucked for what they asked him to do.
Right.
So these guys are not what they're showing you they are.
Exactly. I agree with that. Well, with that said, we're gonna end the show with probably one of the more funner parts of what we do here.
For you.
Yeah, well
you want the fans to hate us, right?
No, I don't want the
listen, they're gonna love you, but they're gonna hate me.
I'm not listen, let me be clear. Let me be clear.
No, let me be clear. Let me be clear.
Right. That's how it's going to sound to the fans. I am not here for the fans. I am here for the people who are tired of seeing things on the field that don't get called out. And when they call the radio shows to talk about it, They get brushed off to the side like they're wearing tinfoil hats or something like that. That is the most.
The mafia calls them. The mafia calls
right.
them.
You're absolutely
Nation,
right.
They deal with us.
Exactly. So Bills Nation, rock with us. Mafia, y'all can have whatever y'all listen to. But that's why we here. But with that said, I want to do some predictions, man.
All right. Well,
I mean, I could just do it if you want to.
No, I mean, you.
I want to see
go.
what you think.
I'll interject. I'll tell you if I agree or disagree or whatever.
Okay. All right. Let's get to it. So we'll do this, and that should take up about 5 minutes, and we should be good from there.
All right.
Here we go. So, you want to just start with the regular season, or you want preseason? How you want it?
Well, let's see. What do we have preseason? We got the Colts, the Steelers, and the Bears.
Listen,
Nah, let's not do that. Well, all right,
please,
okay, let's do it just for fun. Just for fun. Okay, so we got who's here? We got the Colts is here, and that's it, right?
Colts at Bills is gonna be the first preseason game.
That's the only one at home. That's Kids Day. The first,
yeah, that's Kids Day,
and they got the up and coming quarterback.
That's a win. That's a win.
Yeah,
they always win they always have some great comeback at the end. I remember
usually Kids Day is the last one where nobody plays too.
That's true.
So the first
and there's only 3 now though. There's only 3. Yeah. So
I don't know. I think I'll say I'll say they win because they're home. Just because
they got to win.
It's gonna be rocking.
They have to, and they know that. Like the Bills have been so good at catering to their fans and placating and all that kind of stuff. So win. Right, NFL preseason game, Colts at Bills. That's a win for the Bills.
Win.
Second preseason game, Bills at Steelers, August 19th.
Win.
Okay. Let's see. Preseason game number 3, Bills at Bears, August 26th.
That'll be your backups. Loss. I'll say loss.
Loss. Bubble guys not getting it done.
Bubble guys not getting it done.
I'm with you on that. I think 2 wins and a loss. I agree with that. Yeah, I would take that.
As long as we get out healthy, I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, you always want to win out, get that momentum going in the first game, but nevertheless, I don't think that's going to make a difference because I think week 1 Bills at Jets. I think the Jets take it to the Bills. I think that
the Jets do it.
I think that spanking is going to be fierce, man.
I don't think so.
I'm scared.
I think the Bills win that one.
Really?
I do.
How you think they're going to do that?
I think it's going to take the Jets a little time to gel. I think they're gonna. You got Rodgers in there. He's got his receivers. We gave it to Rodgers last year. They got the defense.
Okay.
But if our offense is what they said it is, and we have a DeAndre Hopkins wearing number 10, as you guys want him to, I don't think they have enough.
Well, I'm okay. Then maybe we could do one with Hopkins and without Hopkins.
No, either way it goes.
You still think?
I think they win.
Okay. All right. I have that as a loss. Raiders at Bills, September 17th, first game of the season, probably going to be a whiteout. I'm going to give the Bills a win on that one. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is not the guy to get it done. I do not think that your boy Adams is going to be the same guy with the same numbers as what he had last year. I just, as much as I like McDaniels and what he can do as a coordinator, I don't think Garoppolo's arm and his ability to look down the field and really take those chances the way Adams needs are going to be there. So I think the Bills take that one pretty easily, actually, at home especially. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going. I think the Raiders going to play themselves again. So I'm going 2-0. So yeah, I agree. Win.
Okay. All right. I got them at 1-1. Bills at Commanders, September 24th. Who do they have at quarterback now?
Commanders? Who is their quarterback? I don't even know.
Did you hear about the Commanders not getting the trademark for their name?
Really?
They didn't get it.
So who are they?
Right, that's a good question. They're about to be sold if they haven't already, but I mean that's something that the new owner is definitely gonna have to think about because they can't be the Commanders. Like there's like 3 other teams that put in for a patent or a trademark or whatever with that name. So
that's crazy. So
yeah,
let's see their quarterback. Who is it?
I'm gonna just be honest. I don't think it matters.
Is that right? No. Yeah, we win. Sam Howell?
Sam Howell?
Yeah.
Oh, God, no, that's a win.
I was thinking their defense is going to take. Yeah, that's. Unless something crazy happens, that's a win.
Okay, good. So I'm 2-1. You're 3-0.
3-0
on the season. That brings us to the Dolphins. The Dolphins are coming here October 1st. Let me just scroll down really quick to see.
We go there at the end of. We go there in the wintertime.
I'm okay with that actually.
They did it on purpose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, considering what happened last year,
right, they did it on purpose.
We needed to have that happen. All right, Dolphins at Bills. They're coming here. Where it's going to be warm, but definitely not like it would be in Miami. That's October 1st. What say you?
Oh, let's see. It depends on what they do with Ramsey. It depends on how Jalen Phillips comes into play, and it really depends on if Tua is going to still be a quarterback. That's what really depends, because you're looking at obviously your two wide receivers who are still getting it done. And
4 weeks into the season,
we'll see who they have at running back, because there's a lot of heat coming up. And you know who he is. Our running back's little older brother is Dalvin Cook to the Dolphins is heating up.
Really,
is heating up. So we shall see. Even honestly, Zeke
Elliott.
His name came up, but I heard Dalvin Cook is heating up.
Wow.
Going back home for him, so that makes sense. But
okay.
For your exercise, I say Dolphins. I'm going to go ahead and say we lose that one.
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Loss at home to the Dolphins. Wow. No, I actually think we take that one.
Yeah.
I really do. I think, their defense is going to be better, but offensively, I just I mean,
that was a toss. That honestly was a toss. That's not a strong loss, but I feel like it's going to come at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Again, I'm looking at it like this too. You've got both your safeties back. You've got a year removed from newness in the league from Benford and Kyer Elam. I think they'll play better. So your secondary is going to be very close to being where it was 2 years ago when it was elite. I think your linebacker play. So what I like about what we found out about Sean McDermott is the school he comes from, the zone blitz, the ability to disguise and stuff like that. I think that plays better with the pieces that we have now. If he can do something like that, where there's more disguise, there's more zone blitz, there's more finesse. And guys to or guile, I think is probably the better word I'm looking for. To the way that the defense plays, I think that'll be a win. I honestly do. I think if our defense can play like that with that style, I think that'll be a win, because I think the offense is enough to beat that defense.
You got to remember they got that Cam Smith, that new cornerback, their number 1 draft pick. So and they're saying he's eating. They're saying he's eating on Waddle. They're saying he's eating on Tyreek. So
really,
yeah. And you got to pair him with Jalen. But I mean, Jalen's he's the afterthought. He's a name, but that Cam Smith, I don't know. And like I said, that's not why I'm doing it. But I just feel like it's coming, and it's a week before the London game.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't know, man. Dolphins coming home. They gave us a hard time in the playoffs. I think the Bills are going out with something to prove. I think schematically, our offense versus their defense, I think our tight ends eat that game. I really do. I think their linebacker play has probably been one of the weaker points of that defense. I think definitely. with where the Bills are going with Kincaid is probably the smartest way to go with all the corners that have now come into our division. So I'm going to say that's a win. You say that's a loss?
It's a loss.
Okay, so we are both sitting at what?
I'm at 3-1. You're at 2 and. Actually, yeah, you're at 3-1 now.
3-1. Yep. So London game. The Bills are actually the home team in London.
Yeah, that's
exciting. That's actually pretty exciting. That's a 9:30 in the morning game on October 8th. Mm-hmm. Jaguars at Bills. Jaguars offense makes me pretty nervous. I think their coordinator is their head coach really is pretty good. I liked what he showed in the playoffs. I think that team will take another step. I don't love their receivers, to be honest. I think our defense can neutralize that.
Now, I want before you leave your prediction, I want to make sure you know they're playing in London the week before too. Got 2 straight weeks, so they're going to stay in London.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're staying in London. That's. I wanted to put that in before you said anything because that's big.
It is big, but I think, and I could be looking at this with some fan glasses on, but I think the Bills are a tougher team mentally than the Jaguars are. So even though they've been there for a couple of weeks and they're kind of, comfortable, I still think the Bills can make that trip and still get that win. I really do. I think talent for talent, ability for ability, we still have a better roster. We may not have we may not have a better, we may not have better coordinators, but if our defense can play the way that, the way that they've played or close to it the past, 2 to 3 years, I think we'll be okay in that game. I do. A better run game and an offensive scheme that can beat, pretty good outside coverage from a defense. I think we can take that game. So I'm going to say we're 4-1 at that point.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 3-2.
Okay.
Because it really depends on what we show on the field the weeks previous. With the linebacker, I'm really worried about Etienne. I'm worried about what Trevor Lawrence may do.
Yeah.
So the team as itself isn't imposing, but they are the sum of their parts. It seems like.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Right now is like we want to say it's way too early.
That's
and honestly, I'm being kind of pessimistic only because I don't want to come off as 17-0. I'm looking at, and I think if we do this again after the training camp, we might have after the preseason, we may have a different outlook.
It'll be interesting to see how we match up.
Right. So yeah, I'm gonna go 3-2 after that one.
Okay. All right. Cool. So 3-2. I got 4-1. Giants at Bills.
Ooh.
And this is a night game.
Come on, A. What you got? Come on, man. What you got?
This one it pains me. It pains me. But I don't think the Giants have enough on offense. I don't think Daniel Jones has enough to beat our defense. I think defensively they are going to be a mother, but I think we take that one.
See, I think.
You think we lose that one?
I think. Well, like I said, I'm going to say 3-3 only because.
Wow.
Only because
of your Dayball love. That's what it is.
Dayball. I think Dayball. And the fact that he came from it, he has a familiarity with so many of our offensive players. He knows what they can and can't do, and it's personal for him. I think if the rumors were true about him and McDermott's relationship, it's personal. So I think for that reason, he's going to pull out all the stops, and he's gonna go as hard. This is his Super Bowl. Because honestly, I think he may have wanted that head coaching job in Buffalo.
Ooh.
So you got my quarterback that I groomed.
Yeah.
It's personal. So I think for that reason, that's going to take me to 3-3, and you're at what, 4-2?
You might have just won me over, man. The Jaguars was 50-50 for me. The Dolphins were 50-50 for me. I was kind of including, some minor factors that in my mind gave the Bills the edge in those circumstances.
Right. I get it. I would say those 3 games are probably toss-ups for me, but at this point in time, I think the Bills being at home, I still think that to me is the ultimate edge on a night game. Even going against Dayball, I'm going to stick with a win there too. I was just looking at they got Jalen Hyatt in round 3. They got a running back, and they took a cornerback. 24th overall, they took JMS at 57 at center. So they added a lot of speed on the outside. So it'll be interesting to see. We know all Hyatt does is run 9s. That's all he does. Will he come up with a slant? Will they develop his game? We'll see. I think Dayball will be the mastermind. Obviously, their offense, the scheme is going to be better.
Yeah.
But we have more talent. So is it going to be scheme versus talent? Which one wins? That's the battle of minds on that one.
Right.
And mind-wise, Dorsey lost. So I'm thinking for that reason, I'm going 3-3. I definitely can see it swing another way as well.
Yeah, I think Wink Martindale is the guy to bet on in that one.
So you're going to win on that one, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna still go win.
Okay.
I'm gonna still go win. I think the players still have to make the plays on the field, and even if the plays get called, we've seen, especially with the Bills, that just because the plays are good doesn't always mean the players are gonna execute it well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bills against Patriots.
Smash them to bits.
Smash them to bits.
Smash
You gotta
them to
win.
bits. I don't think the Patriots have enough yet.
I don't know why. Looking at the schedule so far, why do I only have the Bills with one loss?
And that's why I'm like, you know what? I'm nitpicking right now because it just doesn't make sense. I don't know which team is going to be that team we're supposed to beat that we lose to, and I'm thinking maybe it might be the Dolphins. There's always that one.
Again, that's why I said Dolphins, Jaguars, Giants. I think somewhere in there we might end up with a loss that we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I think that's the Billsiest way to look at it. To be honest,
it is.
But okay, all right. Let's get through the results. So, let's see. I
got you. You're right now. You're 5-1.
5-1, and
you're 2-1 in the division.
You're at 3-3.
I'm at 3-3 with 2-1 in the division.
Okay, that's not bad actually. It's not bad. All right, Buccaneers at Bills. This is another night game.
Wait, hold on a second. With the Patriots, you're winning. You got the Patriots winning.
I got the. Did I pick on that one? Yeah,
no.
I got the Bills winning.
You got the Bills winning. Okay,
yeah,
so that puts you at 6-1.
I don't think they have enough.
And 3-0 in the division.
Yeah,
that puts me at 4-3 and 3-1 in the division.
And your prediction is probably going to be so much closer to what it actually is. That's probably what I have no idea why.
I really don't. We're trying to make it sound good, but this is anyone's game right now.
This is bad. Oh, my God. This is so bad. Let's just hurry up and get through this. Buccaneers at Bills. I mean, Baker Mayfield is their quarterback. Their defense is aging. Their playmakers are aging. I just don't think that team has enough anymore.
No, they're a shell of a team.
Yeah, so I'll give the Bills a win on that one. Jesus,
right,
7-1 at this point.
7-1.
Apparently, I've raised world beaters in Buffalo.
You are a mafia member, aren't you?
No, it seems like it, doesn't it? After all this crap I done talked about the team, I closet mafia member. Yeah, my T-shirt's on backwards. On the back is Bills Mafia.
I think the next one, no,
that's a loss.
Yeah,
easily. And it's a night game, and we're in Cincinnati again. I think flashbacks all over the place.
Yeah,
that's a loss.
And you know what's funny about it? They're going to use that.
Yeah,
they're going to use that narrative too, because
they'll probably replay the play where he got hurt.
They're going
on the
Lord
big
Jesus,
screen. Yeah, Cincinnati doesn't care. No, I'm just kidding. Cincinnati, we love you. I'm not saying you don't care. I just
I was. You know what's funny about that? I was actually after that happened. I joined a couple of Bengals groups, and they were nice at first, but I got out of them.
They got sick of it after a while.
They just like their players, man. There are a lot of good ones.
Yeah,
but some of them, man, they're like that whole what's the running Mixon when he was talking about get your tickets and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's how they were.
Ooh.
And we weren't even talking mess to them in their group. We all joined their group on the strength of DeMar Hamlin. So I have a little bit of an animosity towards Cincinnati Bengals now, but they're still going to beat us.
Well, unfortunately, I think that's going to be 2 night losses in a row because the Broncos are coming to town November 13th. And if that offense can play any kind of offense, I think that defense is good. They may not have the same coverage ability in their secondary that they've had in previous years, but pretty darn good front seven there. And they got an offensive guy working with, one of the best quarterbacks to play the position in the last decade. So I think that's a loss for the Bills.
I'm going to say it's a win.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's a win because I don't think Russell Wilson get his head out of his butt.
Really?
I don't see it. I see them on a downswing. I see another uproar of just rebellion. I see people quitting on them. I see a defense that has to hold everything down, but it's just not going to be enough.
Even with a new head coach who's basically putting his foot down for the guy.
I think the damage is done. I think the damage is done from the stories of running up and down the aisle of the plane, doing exercises the whole time when they're trying to rest after the plane and after the game. And I just think that they're a hair away from trying to get rid of this guy. So I think
interesting. So it's really going to matter what their record is at that point.
It's going to matter what their record is. It's going to matter how Russell Wilson's playing and his perception of by the team.
Boy, you are a lot harder on that guy than I am. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've heard all the stories, and I'm not a fan of his.
They are not a fan of his. And that's the thing that gets you.
Yeah. I just think a head coach maybe has a chance at changing some of that if he can show that he can come in and kind of take control and not let him just be what he was.
We shall see.
But yeah, right.
We shall see. But when you give that kind of money to somebody like that at that age, they're pretty much stuck in their ways.
Yeah. Which brings us to the game of the year. The defense just scares me to death. So every time we play them is game of the year. I'm sorry.
Our Super Bowl.
My mother-in-law is a huge Jets fan. To me, these two games against the Jets are going to tell us what the Bills are really about, because you play a defense that great with a quarterback that great on paper. Now I get it. You're saying they have to gel and all that kind of stuff. By this time in the season, they've gelled.
Yeah, they're
so to me, if you beat this Jets team and now you got them at home, right? The way I got it, you lost to them. You lost to them the first game of the season. Mm-hmm. You just had 2 losses. Now you got the Jets coming in. You got to win this game, especially if you're talking about playoff hopes. Right. In my prediction sequence. So I think it's still a loss.
The Jets are a loss?
I don't think we have enough to beat that defense. And they're coming in gelled. Their quarterback is more in sync with their receivers. That defense is going to be even more tenacious because they've played us once. They know what we do. They've seen enough tape by this point to truly understand what they need to do to stop us. I'm sorry. I just don't think we have enough to beat that team.
My man, I think we're tied because I have 7-4. I have a win against the Jets in Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
I got a win against the Jets in Buffalo. The reason why is going to be Aaron Rodgers versus Josh Allen. It's going to be a battle of men. It's going to be Josh Allen. He's going to come out and we just beat the tarp out of the Broncos. Nobody can stop us.
Okay.
So we're coming in. We're trying to, like you said, solidify our playoff hopes.
Yeah.
So I think this is the best way. I have them down 2-1 in the division. This is going to be a 3rd win.
Wow, you just gave me goosebumps on that one, bro. I'm feeling like I'm in front of the TV watching the game about to start. Like, woo!
I'm telling you, that's what's going to be like. It's going to be rocking in there, man. When Aaron Rodgers comes to Buffalo, it's going to be rocking. Okay. And I can tell you, if they brought Jair Alexander, man, they would have blown the non-existent roof off that place.
Yeah. Wait, they were trying to get Jair?
Nah, but I'm saying, when Aaron Rodgers,
they're trying to bring
Jair
everybody
here.
Yo.
I don't care what Steph Diggs says about it. I want Jair here, but neither here nor there.
Right. Okay, so another big test. Boy, this let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 week span. I'll say 5 week span because I don't respect the Cowboys at all. Eagles, November 26th. Let's not get ahead of ourselves before we disrespect the Cowboys. Bills at Eagles. We got to go down to Philly.
With that defensive line they just built, Nolan Smith, Jordan, what's his name?
Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis and Carter?
I'm sorry. I just don't see it happening.
Okay. I'm thinking this here. This is what I'm thinking. We have tape of Jordan Davis and Carter playing against Osiris Torrance. Mm-hmm. We've seen it. Osiris Torrance handled both of them. Mm-hmm. We have a mobile quarterback, just like they had in Richardson over there. We have Stephon Diggs. We have Dawson Knox. We got Dalton Kincaid. We are going to win this game, folks. We are going to make this statement. We are going to win this game against the Eagles.
I got the Bills doing worse than you do?
I think at this point you got them at 7-5. I got them at 8-4.
Wow.
For now.
Wow.
You know what? And I think that's going to be a game that raises the nation's eyes to the Bills. They're going to be like, is this team for real? They're going to be like, is this team for real?
If you have them at 8-4 at this point?
8-4 at this point.
You have to at that point. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I started off with the better record.
I just don't make any sense. That's what it is.
Well, that's okay. Again, this is the way too early predictions. So here we go. All right, we're almost through. We're more than halfway now.
Yep.
That brings us to December 10th. Bills at Chiefs. What say thee?
I think all that momentum I was talking about
dies.
I think this is the game where it stops because I got Mahomes and whoever he has on his team just barely eking out what we're doing with our Buffalo Bills. So unfortunately, I got us going 8-5. And what say you, sir?
I'm with you. I think the Bills take a loss here, another loss for my predictions. This middle span of the season, the schedule here is just brutal. It's just absolutely brutal. But yeah, they take a loss at Kansas City, which brings us to the Chargers. I'm not even going to talk about the Cowboys. We beat them.
You want to talk about the boys?
No, I'm so sick of hearing about the Cowboys that them being America's team, yet they win nothing. I think they've won one Super Bowl, two Super Bowls back in the 90s, and they've done absolutely nothing since. I understand that I like the Bills, and the Bills have actually done less than the Cowboys in that span.
And the Cowboys have done it to the Bills. So
exactly. But nevertheless, never am I going to ever respect the Cowboys. Never. I just refuse. I'm sorry. You got what do you got them doing that game?
Who, the Chargers?
The Cowboys.
Oh, the Cowboys, I got them winning.
Okay, perfect. So we both agree on that one. So there's a win there, especially after that Kansas City game. I think Cowboys are in for a world of hurt. Yeah. Bills at Chargers, December 23rd. That is a night game. It's going to be cold.
It's going to be very cold. It'll be frosty.
Well, frosty if frosty means 50 degrees in LA.
That's what I said. It's going to be frosty. Might have to wear a jacket. Catch a chest cold out there. But no, I got the Bills. I don't know what the Chargers have done in the offseason. Talk me into this here.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say this is a win for the Bills.
Okay.
I think that Chargers team has had an issue with their training staff. I think that Chargers team has had an issue with offensive coaching at times in terms of ensuring that they have players who fit each other well. They just drafted another bigger receiver who's similar to a guy they already have in Mike Williams.
Who's always hurt, yeah. I'm looking at their draft now. They got the middle linebacker, Dan Henley, who is a menace. They have they drafted an edge out of USC, and Tuli Polodu. Mm-hmm. And Darius Davis, which I know is a pretty fast name out there. So that's going to be a tough one. I think by this time we'll know who we are, and hopefully they won't know who they are yet because somebody's not going to be playing that should be. Right. So I will reluctantly give us the win on that one.
Wow. Okay. I think that's a win for us. Where are we now?
You got 9-6. I'm at 10-5.
9-6, 10-5. Patriots at Bills. That's a 1:00 game. I'm taking the win. I as much as I think the Patriots are going to be a much better team this year, I just don't think they have enough. I don't.
All right, so you got the win there. So you're at 10-6. I am going to go 11-5 on that one as well. I don't think the Patriots have it just yet, which puts us both at 4-1 in the division. And lastly, Dolphins. I think at 11-5, we are who we think we are. That's going to be it. I think we're going to be resting for the playoffs. I'll give us a loss on that one because we're playing all backups.
Wow. 11-5 probably puts us at what, the fourth seed? Third or fourth?
Yeah, depending.
I mean, in our division now with all the teams that we got, I mean, that's 11-5 is you're probably looking at somewhere between 3 and 6.
Yeah, but my thinking is they're not gonna. If the Jets are who you think they are, the Jets will win a division.
Yeah.
So we're in the playoffs, but we're not gonna win a division. So we're kind of stuck wherever we go.
True.
So I figured at that point, what's the point in playing your starters when you're already your destiny's already been.
You're gonna be somewhere in that range.
You're already
no matter
so
what you do. Right.
Just rest your guys. I'd say we take the loss, and that puts us 11-6 for me. and 4-2 in the division.
I think the Dolphins are going to need it, man. I'm with you. I think the Dolphins will win that game. I don't know what that does for my predictions, but I think you're right. I think somewhere in that 3-6 range, the Bills will still make the playoffs. They won't be home at all in the playoffs, but maybe that's what they need. Maybe all this, chasing for home field advantage and all that kind of stuff has kind of gotten in the way of, what the team should really be about, which is just, sticking their nose in there, getting the work done on a week-to-week basis and going and playing hard,
So that takes you to 10-7, 4-2 in the division, and I'm 11-6, 4-2 in the division. So
I did not see you having a better record for them than I did. I must say. But
I mean, it really came down to that mid area.
Yeah.
Like I said, what game was it that surprised you? I had us beating the Eagles.
Oh, the Eagles. Yeah, you had us beating the Eagles.
The Broncos and Eagles
shot.
I think those are the two swings.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Eagles one is just me thinking that I don't even know what the Eagles are doing before they play us, but I feel like we're just going to go in there and try to smack them in the mouth.
Let's hope so, man. Let's hope so. All right. This was a little bit of a longer episode, but I'm really glad we did this. I think this is going to be great for our listeners. Listen, if you enjoyed what you heard, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment on anything you want us to talk about in the future or anything that you thought we should have talked about here. I don't mind responding and having debates in the comments or however, at some point we're going to have the ability to have, callers on, and we should be able to, start streaming this live, pretty soon, coming up in the next month or two. So,
and just remember, we're guys just like you. We're people just like you. Be respectful. We're respectful of you. Obviously,
or else you're canceled.
We're not in the front office, so we don't know everything, but we're just going based on information we have. So, like my comrade over here said, we definitely would like to dialogue with you and talk about what you want to hear, because right now us coming up with conversations based on what we want to talk about is good for us, but we want you guys to be engaged and interested in what we have to say.
That's it. All right. See you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your day.